Boozed and Confused is a comedy and weird topic podcast. Adult language may be used, probably by me. While our episode topics may be educational in nature, we are not responsible if your children start dropping the F-bomb to their kindergarten class. Listener discretion is advised.
Howdily doodly, neighborinos.
Ooh,
I don't know why I
Hey.
stuck with that one. I'm sorry.
That was off script.
Yeah, it was really off script.
super
Well, we
off
don't really
script.
have that much of a script. It's not like we're writers that like sit in the writing room all night and get this ready for us.
The producer likes to throw in her 2 cents every once in a while.
Yeah, the producer has been out of pocket lately. So, hello, welcome back to another episode of Boozed and Confused. I'm Carolanne.
Hey, this is Matt.
And if I'm more nasally than usual, I'm on the tail end of a sinus infection. So if that's going to bother you, I'll just see you next time. Sorry.
Right.
It bothers me more than you know.
Yeah, usually I'm the
Super
one with the
nasally one.
nasal. Instead, I'm just a little scratchy because
Yeah.
I lost my voice the
Yeah.
other day.
We're doing really well over here, which is why we're maybe a little bit late. And by late, I mean, I think in our last episode, we said, see you guys next week. And then we did not see you.
Look, it's not
Last
been
week,
5
so.
months. So
No, it hasn't been
can't-
5 months. We're still here. Today, we're going to talk about one of my favorite topics, which is corporate America and your privacy. But before we do that, a couple housekeeping items.
Oh, I remember.
Just super quick.
I remember.
Social media, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, formerly Twitter,
Yeah,
now
it's called
known as
X.
X.
Yeah, it's called X. Please,
For as long as that's around.
please use the appropriate name.
And you can find us everywhere on those. And if you want to send us a message, you can do that on any of those platforms. Instagram is probably your best bet, except sometimes Instagram sends way too many notifications for the pod page.
We're just so
I close.
popular.
Well, no, but I close out of them because it's like, oh, so-and-so posted a story with music. And I'm like, well, I don't fucking care about that. So I close out of it, but then I forget that I have notifications also for people who've messaged us. So I have like 3 messages just sitting unread right now. I promise I'm going to read them.
I bet 2 of them are like, hey, collaborate with us and
Do you
wear
wanna
our
sell
jewelry.
Yeah, they might be. The second, what is the second housekeeping item? If you like the pod and you want to support us,
take a screenshot and
Yeah, oh,
we'll
yeah.
send
Oh my
you
God.
a sticker.
Did I say that last time? Yeah. If you
I
like the
mean-
pod, you want to support us, leave us a review, follow, whatever the fuck you can do these days on all these different platforms. And then are you counting my F-bombs?
Yeah,
You're
we're
rude.
so early in the episode.
is
Save them
aggressive.
for when it's important.
That's fine. This is aggressive.
When you
I feel like this is a
overseason-
hostile work environment,
When you-
actually.
When you over season the food, like you can always add seasonings. You can never take it away.
This is just my baseline seasoning, man. This is my like Kansas City French fry seasoning, and then you just add on top of it. I don't know what you want me to do.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't
Anyways, so you just take a picture or a screenshot of it and you send it to us, and we will send you some Boozed and Confused stickers in the mail for free.
Maybe like
Wherever
50.
you are. Yeah,
maybe like 50.
We have
Like
so
an
many.
entire tube.
And the last one is, what are we drinking?
Ooh, what are we
Ooh,
drinking?
What are we drinking? It's
Mm.
really
Let
delightful.
me just
I'm obviously
cozy up. I'm wearing a plaid blanket over my head.
I've got Hallmark movies ready to go right after we're done with this episode. Not really.
What a
but-
twist. Her dad is Santa.
Yeah, Dad is always Santa. No booze for me, because I'm obviously on antibiotics.
No booze for me at the moment, but this would go astoundingly well with a nice shot of bourbon.
Yeah, I would not drink that. I'm really enjoying this without the bourbon. So this is like a warm apple cider with a cinnamon stick sticking out of it, and I don't know, some spices.
I put some spice up in there.
Some spices.
Spice.
And a little sugar. It's really good. So I think that's it. We can just get into it.
Let's just cannonball in.
Yeah, let's just how would they say it in corporate America? Let's just dive right in. let's just get into it.
Let's
Let's
get
just
some
get to
magic
the meat.
up in here. Let's get to the meat and
Let's
potatoes.
just get a little magic in here. All right. So if you have read news headlines at all in the last month, they've been fucking awful, actually. So if you haven't read news headlines recently, I wouldn't blame you. I used to be very on top of the news, and for my mental health, I'm not as on top of the news as maybe I liked to be in the past. But today's pod episode is focused specifically on the company 23andme, and hence why today's episode title is 23andme and the terrible, horrible, no good, very bad October.
I was going to say like 23 and everybody else.
23
and all of us. 23 and we.
23 and we. Oh, that's funny. Maybe I should change the name of this to something else. TBD. We'll workshop this a little
23
bit.
and we, I think, is the winner.
Yeah, 23 and we is funny.
WII.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, that is funny.
That's
Nintendo
tracked all your biometrics back in 2003.
The scale that
4,
every
5.
time I popped on, it was like, we haven't seen you in 2054 days. All right, you know what? Well, no, it's going to be another 2000 with that attitude, okay? All right, so 23andme had some really unfortunate headlines in October. If you are unfamiliar, here's a little bit about 23andme. So they are a direct-to-consumer genetic testing company. They're like an Ancestry.com. Really, I think Ancestry DNA and 23andme are the two big players in that direct-to-consumer genetic testing space. I know that there's like a lot of smaller ones that have started to branch off.
Right, yeah. I've really gone the way of looking for the off the beaten path corporations, and the one that's really
I just sent my DNA to everybody.
the one, oh yeah, it's everywhere. The one that's really hit my radar hard is like the pet DNA one.
Oh, yeah. I want to see. They're always like, we'll find out what kind of dog your breed is. And then if you look at the cat ones, they're like, this is a cat.
You found this cat in the garbage, probably.
This cat is 50% trash.
Yeah, what is so 23 and me? Are they more of like a swab your mouth or like a spit in this tube?
You spit in the tube. You
Yeah.
spit in the tube at home. You send the tube off in the USPS, and then 23andme is like, let's taste
This tastes like a Mediterranean.
This is so disturbing. I didn't expect this to take this turn. So pretty much by spitting in this tube, there's a ton of shit that you can figure out about yourself. So 23andme was founded in 2006. That is a very long time ago in terms of,
It was like 4 years ago.
like biotech companies, if you want to call it that. But from just the spit in your tube, here's what they can give you based on how much you're willing to pay. The first is ancestry reports, which is probably arguably the most interesting ones, at least maybe in my opinion, or popular choices. So they'll just analyze your DNA. They give you information about like your ancestry composition, so very much like ancestry.com does. And yeah, it's, I guess, probably pretty interesting. The next is trait reports, which I just feel like is a little bit like they're trying to pretend to be psychic.
It's so we did a different.
Don't give the spoilers.
Oh, I was just gonna say that like.
Yes. Okay. Ancestry DNA has our DNA. Okay. We spit in the tube. We sent it off to Ancestry DNA, which is not why they are not part of today's conversation. We're not paid by Ancestry DNA or anything. We're not partial to them yet.
Yet.
They just did not have the terrible headlines like 23andme did.
Well, no, they did the traits thing.
Yeah.
You paid $10 extra and they unlocked it magically. They grabbed our spit from the spit locker and they
put it
tasted
back
it
in the
again
mouth.
and like, this guy won't like cilantro. False. I love cilantro.
Yeah, so they do these trait reports for 23andme, and the trait reports talk about the traits that are influenced by genetics. So it's like your hair color, your taste preferences, a bunch of other random shit. And again, I feel like this is almost a little bit of...
It's like pseudoscience.
Yeah.
It's like a coin flip. It's like, what kind of bread are you?
Yeah, it's really like like you're paying $45 to go see a psychic or something, and then you try to figure out what's real and what's bullshit from what they told you. Wouldn't know that, just hypothetical. The next is like predisposition reports specific to your health. So they can provide you information with your genetic predisposition to certain health conditions, like if you are going to potentially be more prone to Alzheimer's when you're older, or Parkinson's, or certain types of cancers. So you can kind of understand now, maybe a little bit, why this is becoming a little bit more alarming with what they can do with all of our spit. They could also do carrier status reports, so you can have them look at your DNA for certain genetic conditions. So that would be like if you have, want to be checked for certain genetic conditions that you could potentially pass on to your children. Fun fact, for the non-USA listeners, when I was pregnant with the producer, there were certain DNA tests that they had recommended that we do, but they were not going to be covered by insurance. So it was going to be like over $1,000 out of pocket. So because this was not going to be covered by insurance, I looked into getting this done through 23andMe and then opted to just not do anything at all.
Also, side note, we had to pause recording because our litter robot sponsor here, no, I'm just kidding. It's so loud, and
it is very loud.
Like, I enjoy having it for the convenience of not having a scoop every 10 minutes.
Yeah. With 2 cats.
But man, is it loud,
it's very loud
and slow.
Disruptive.
But I also did pour a bit of whiskey in the cider, and my goodness.
Matt goes, just a splash, and it's like glug, 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 glug.
That's not accurate. Mom, she's lying.
Anyways, and the last thing you can get from 23andMe is wellness reports. So it kind of feels like a little bit of trying to play like a psychic. So they will give you insights into how your genetics might influence your like overall wellness, your sleep patterns, if you're lactose intolerant, which I feel like if you have the funds to send your DNA off to 23andMe, you probably have already deduced if you're lactose intolerant or not.
There's a pretty obvious connotation. You drink some milk.
Yeah. Yeah. How do you feel after you eat a large cheese curds from
yeah.
Culver's?
Yeah, it's game over.
Nobody feels good, but
if you're comfortable with it, it's not your problem. Yeah. It's everybody else's.
So yeah, like we mentioned, there's other genetic testing companies that offer shit like this, like Ancestry and Ancestry DNA, which I have done and we've both done. But yeah, so there's a lot of information you can gather from someone's DNA, and these companies have been around for a while, right? And they're really appealing. But why do you think some people may not like the idea of spitting in a tube and having some guy at corporate America company just go
gargle
taste
it
like a lactose intolerant?
Oh, this guy hates milk. This guy's slightly racist.
This guy punishes his wife every time he eats ice cream.
Oh my God. So, I mean, I think handing your very personal information, like the most personal of information.
The most personal. Yeah.
Just into a box, just giving it out to some guy.
Yeah. Some guy to the USPS. And then, and then it just goes off to corporate America.
Oh, but I like our
You're
mail
paying.
carriers.
I do too.
I would
I
give
like
them
our
a vial
carriers.
of my spit if they asked for it.
I don't think they would like that.
Maybe a foot picture.
There's one that might. I don't know. We'll see around the holidays. But yeah, so obviously it's like the biggest concern is privacy, right? Because like you were quite literally sending off your genetic data to some fucking corporate America company, and you've no idea really how it's going to be used and shared. So obviously anytime you sign up for something like this, there's like the T's and C's that you have to read and acknowledge and you sign.
But everyone
just
says they read it.
Yeah.
You just scroll all the way down. Sometimes they have a pause on the OK button.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
All right, you waited.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or like if you didn't scroll down far enough at all, it's like, listen, guy, at least pretend.
You
Just
gotta
try.
scroll to the bottom.
Yeah. So, and the other part of the privacy concern is you don't actually know how companies are going to store that kind of sensitive information, or how they might share it with third parties. There could be like privacy breaches, unauthorized access. What if some psychopath starts working at Ancestry DNA and then he's like a mastermind serial killer that's using everybody else's DNA to plant it? You know, you get where my brain goes with this.
This is a normal Monday night
This
for
is-
her, by the
yeah.
way, y'all. This
Yeah.
is not just podcast Carolanne. This is reading in the like book corner Carolanne.
Yeah. Well, also in our 5-month hiatus, I found out I have OCD, so I also think that there's a little bit of it in there, which, you know, I'll fucking say Ancestry DNA could have given me a fucking heads up about that one. I don't know if that comes out in the DNA or if that's just a noggin one, if I have to send off some brain sample.
Have a slice. Have a slice, y'all.
So some other reasons folks are very commonly rightfully concerned about sending their DNA off to some corporate America company, genetic discrimination. And this is one that I actually get very concerned about, because your employers, what if something like 10 years, 20 years down the line, your employers could have access to this. Insurance companies could have access to this. At the moment, I think a lot of the folks that listen to this pod in the US are very used to insurance post Obamacare regulations, but pre-Obamacare regulations, the insurance companies could deny you for anything. They didn't have to insure you. So if it was like, oh, you have a family history of cancer, they could probably deny covering you. Post Obamacare regulations, they can't do that anymore. But
they can just jack up your rates.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's a whole different conversation. But that is definitely a concern. And then we've talked a little bit about like data security, the commercialization of genetic information. So, you know, maybe it's a little uncomfy. People don't want to just spend $99 for a stocking stuffer spit in a tube gift, and then the company just makes all this money off of them doing God knows what.
What kind of stocking stuffer is a $99 item?
You should see their marketing around the holidays.
A stocking stuffer is something that is like 8 cents.
A Pez dispenser.
Yeah, it's something little. It's just like little knickknacks.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you know what? This is really just a marketing issue, because that's how these tests are. I guarantee you, if I go into my phone right now and I search old emails, Ancestry will have sent me at least one that says this is a perfect stocking stuffer. And really, like, the last big thing is just you completely lose control over how your DNA is used in the future, just plain and simple, and that's kind of scary.
DNA autonomy.
Yeah, you ain't got that. You ain't got that anymore. And that little freak that they hired over at the Ancestry.com now has access to all your DNA. So, you know, God knows what he's going to do with it.
He's going to make a chimera out of all the people.
Oh, God. My mind just went to, like, a mad scientist, like, Pokemon lab type place, but human. So, creating Frankenstein's monster.
Well, actually, Mewtwo is literally a genetic copy of
Did you
Mew.
just actually me?
Yeah, they did that in the first game. The first game's lore is Mewtwo was made from DNA from Mew. And then the first movie.
All right. Well,
and he clones all the Pokemon, and Pikachu is slapping other Pikachu, and they're all crying, and then Ash gets turned to rock.
How many times did you cry in the Pokemon movie when Pikachu cried?
Oh, it's not when Pikachu... Oh, maybe. Yeah, it's when they all cry.
Yeah. That's where my childhood trauma
how old
really
am I?
started.
34? Like 33. I still teared up.
Yeah. I mean, it's a sad event. Brings up a lot.
Yeah, but he's the main character. Like, he's not going to die in a movie.
That'd be terrible writing.
Wildly successful, show. Well, he did retire finally.
Welcome to the
At
Pokemon.
10 years old. He stayed 10 for like 25 years, 30 years. He stayed 10.
Welcome to the Pokemon podcast. All right, we're gonna get back to 23.
So hey, who's no
2023?
Umbreon? Oh no, hey, Vaporeon or Lopunny?
Okay, so 23andMe had two really bad headlines from October that hit that list perfectly. And the first one is October 7th. 23andMe user data targeting Ashkenazi Jews leaked online. And the second is from October 30th, so pretty recent. Drug makers are set to pay 23andMe millions to access consumer DNA. Oh boy.
Yeah, both of those are very alarming.
Yeah. Those are, I mean, and okay, so obviously with anything that works in the media, those headlines vary depending on who you get the story from.
Absolutely.
There's like nuance with each, so it's not really cut and dry, but like, woof, that is really unfortunate. That's a bad PR month if you're 23andMe. So I want to get a little bit into that data leak from October 7th. A lot of people were calling this a hack, and this was not like some massive hack that happened where there was like some failure in 23andMe system. Essentially what happened is there's a giant list of people with Ashkenazi Jewish ancestry that was taken from 23andMe, and it was being shared on the internet, including on dark web forums where I think it was first debuted, if you will.
That's immediately what I thought of. I was like, oh, this is like some like dark web.
4chan.
This is some dark web stuff.
So this list is 999,000 people.
Wow.
Who... What number did I say? 999,000. Yeah. Okay, I read that right.
999,000.
Well, it's actually 999,999. So just under a million.
Wow.
Who have used the service. And this list includes first and last name, obviously, the sex, 23andMe's evaluation of where their ancestors are from, and the database is titled Ashkenazi DNA Data of Celebrities, although most of the people that are on it are not actually famous. So what's really interesting is, like, it's not really clear if this was part of a much larger list at one point and that it was just filtered to only people who had that particular heritage, or if they were targeted specifically because of that heritage. So that part I think is still not really clear. And 23andMe is like adamant that they were not hacked. So they said that hackers gained access to some users' passwords, and then, you know, like leaked from other sites, especially if you tend to use the same password on like every single site.
That's not either of us, is it?
No, never, not me. If you are curious though, there's a site that you could go check. I think it's called Have I Been Owned, but it's PWNED.
Pwned.
Yeah.
Have I been pwned?
So you can go put your email there, and I think it'll kind of like list out all the places where you may have had vulnerabilities in your accounts. But you know, good to give a check.
I think Google also has a pretty good service in that.
They try.
Like it'll tell me like, hey,
there's vulnerabilities.
Change all these passwords right now.
You're like, yeah, I will next time.
Well, and then it's like accounts on things that I haven't used in like 15 years, and it's like
my live journal,
my Zanga,
my MySpace. So yeah, it's not really clear if whoever made the list like made it to only include the specific heritage, or if the same person who even made the list is if the person who made the list is the same person who is putting it up for sale, because that was obviously the end game to make money off of this. Right.
Like, but my question is like, does this also give away like their location? Like,
yeah.
So that's,
it has their I don't know if I said that before, but yeah, it has their global location on it. So, I mean, and I'm sure it would also include like if you've ever had anything shipped to your house, it would probably have your shipping address in there, I imagine. I don't really know.
Yeah.
So 23andMe, that ancestry part that I talked about, it's called DNA relatives. And so that allows you to search for anyone else who's any type of genetic match to you. So whether that's your sibling, parent, all the way down to like I don't know, probably like 6th cousin, 8th cousin. I have no idea.
It gets foggy for me on how
It
those
gets-
are connected. But
Yeah, it gets very foggy. So like your one account can see thousands of other people's accounts just based on one common trait. It's insane. So 23andMe thinks that the hackers just like recycled people's old passwords to scrape a list of people that it had labeled as having this particular heritage, which is really fucking scary. I think, especially considering the state of the world in the last few years. So that's not great. The second more recent headline, where their 23andMe is making a deal. So the second headline, GSK and 23andMe have signed a new data licensing agreement, extending a previous collaboration that spanned all the way back to 2018. So for those who are unaware, because I had no idea before this podcast, GSK is a British pharmaceutical and biotech company. It's the 10th largest pharmaceutical company. So they're behind like the Pfizer, the Moderna.
Yeah, all those COVID shot
whatever.
makers.
Those are really the only
the
two
big
that I know.
ones.
So when they first joined in partnership back in 2018, their goal was stated as such. They really wanted to just have like collaboration that would focus on research and development of innovative new medicines and potential cures using human genetics as the basis for discovery. The collaboration will combine 23andMe's large-scale genetic resources and advanced data science skills with the scientific and medical knowledge and commercialization expertise of GSK. The goal of the collaboration is to gather insights and discover novel drug targets, driving disease progression and develop therapies for serious unmet medical needs based on those discoveries.
If we lived in a better world, I would believe that.
Yeah, I know. Like, that sounds really good, right? So I think actually that part came very specifically from a GSK press release. So, like, yeah, they had a really good PR spin on that.
We're just guys.
yeah.
We're just trying to help you better.
Yeah, we're doing this for you. What is kind of interesting is in this new deal that they signed, part of what they were touting is that from their initial collaboration and agreement starting in 2018, they've developed 50 targets, I guess like areas of research that they could dig into. So the new deal that they just signed last month, 23andMe will receive a $20 million upfront payment to provide GSK with a 1-year non-exclusive data license that will also include access to certain services, such as further analyses of 23andMe data not supported or provided in the previous data release.
So they can take out your DNA and do more testing on it.
Yeah. So just a little bit more. Specifically, 23andMe will provide GSK with access to an analysis of de-identified summary data from global genome and phenome-wide data. GSK will own and advance any new drug discovery programs that it chooses to initiate during the agreement, but 23andMe may be eligible for downstream royalties under certain uses of the database by GSK. Wow, that's nice.
They're just trying to help us. Come on.
It's all for the greater good.
The greater
it's all
good.
for the greater good.
The greater good.
So we're like almost wrapping up a little bit here, but what's really cool is when I was doing all this research, and by research I mean just reading all these articles that are linked in the show notes, I found this fascinating article from Scientific American from 2013, so it's about 10 years ago. Let's see how well it aged.
Ooh.
So in the article, the entire premise is that the FDA has concerns over 23andMe because of XYZ, accuracies in kind of what they're touting. So that's the entire premise before this bit that I've just pulled out. But as the FDA frets about the accuracy of 23andMe's tests, it is missing their true function, and consequently, the agency has no clue about the real dangers they pose. The Personal Genome Service isn't primarily intended to be a medical device. It is a mechanism meant to be a front end for a massive information gathering operation against an unwitting public.
No, that didn't age well at all.
No.
No.
I would say that was true 10 years ago, and that's true now.
You're just fear-mongering.
Yeah, no. Definitely nothing to worry about. Keep spitting in those tubes, letting Gerald just to see whether or not you could have cilantro.
Or think it's soapy.
Yeah. I don't really have a great ending to this. Just, I don't know. Don't go buying your friends and family's DNA testing kits.
Unless it's from Ancestry, because they are a
the sponsor.
Prime sponsor.
They are not actually a sponsor. We didn't even. I mean, this is, I think, just like scratching the surface, and we could do an entire episode on fucked up stuff that's happened from DNA testing sites, like how they found the Golden State Killer.
That's kind of a cool one.
That is kind of cool.
That was kind of cool. It wasn't even him. It was like his niece or something.
Yeah,
his 11-year-old great niece.
How do you think that went down? Like they processed the DNA, and then someone at like the county sheriff was just going through one day and was like,
wait a
boys,
second.
we got him.
The Golden State Killer's a 13-year-old girl.
Yeah, because they have no idea what to do with that. Yeah, well, I guess, I don't know. That's the end of today's episode. I don't really have a great ending. So that's it. Don't go send out your DNA, or do, because you know what? The only thing that made me feel better about doing that is I had already given my DNA to the Be the Match registry years and years and years prior. So I was like, well, if anyone is gonna have access to my DNA, I might get something in return for it. So now I can look at exactly which parts of Europe my ancestors came from that I already knew. So
yeah,
didn't learn much.
Yeah, this is a nice thought to end the night on.
Yeah, so I'm gonna go look at my Ancestry DNA account, see what percent Viking I might be, and I don't know, just unwind the rest of the night. So
there we go.
Yeah, have a good one, everybody. Have a great rest of your week.
See you next week, unless we don't.
Okay, love you guys. Bye.
Bye.